Yeah, yeah, yeah. What it do, baby? What it do? This is Power Moves, where celebrities, athletes, key influential executives share how they make money, how they attract power, and how they earn respect. How's everybody doing? Our audience in here in Tampa Bay, in the world of sports right now, there's some talks that we're looking to get Baker Mayfield here in Tampa. So stay tuned to that because that should be very interesting because that's going to be the perfect succession plan when Brady finally decides to stop taking the fountain of youth and decide to call it quits for real, for real. Then we have Baker Mayfield, which should be very interesting to say the least. You know, my Brooklyn Nets, we fighting for our spot. I think we're gonna be all right. I think we gonna make some runs and do some things. Kyrie Irving, the mandate. Some people are saying that he's not a hero. In my opinion, this man behind his word. He stuck to his guns, and you know what? He got what he wanted, and the Nets got what they wanted. So it's a win-win. Thank you, Major League Baseball, for really pushing the envelope. Because if it wasn't for the Yankees, my Yankees, and the New York Mets, and ensuring that the mayor could understand the gravity of the nonsense of the illogical methodology of why visitors could come in unvaccinated, but players locally can't play. So I'm happy to hear that has been taken care of. Baseball's coming up right around the corner. So it should be some exciting times for the Tampa Bay Rays as well. We're heading into playoff season. The Lakers is not looking good. Sorry, LeBron, just go on vacation, bro. It seems like it's a wrap, man. You're hurting your ankles. You're playing for these 10-day contract type players. I think it's a wrap for the Lakers. But I see the playoffs is going to be very interesting in the NBA. Hockey, our Tampa Bay Lightning is definitely on track to do what they always do. And then in the world of entertainment, one of our closest friends, as a matter of fact, she was on our radio show during Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I wanted to make sure we highlighted her. And, unfortunately, I need to share the news that Karen Marie Mason on March 22nd had transitioned, but she is with us in spirit, and she is definitely with her daughter. So please visit Karen Marie Mason on Instagram. Her daughter has done a great tribute for her. And, she's a testament of someone who fought the diagnosis of breast cancer, stage 4 breast cancer, for 11 years. She did not let it beat her. And she was able to accomplish a whole lot. So please check out the episode that we did. It's also on the podcast on all the channels where she talks about, giving 100%. If she's not giving 100%, she's not doing it. So big shout out to that. On a positive note as well, today is Miss Cheryl, Salt from Salt and Pepper's birthday. So happy birthday to Salt. New radio station that's playing the classics from the hip hop in the 80s and 90s, where the general manager, Skip Dillard, who also once anchored Hot 97 and then went over to BLS in New York. Now he has 94.7 The Block, and Ed Lover is also a part of that. He's being going from Atlanta to New York to supervise that. So that's exciting. As a matter of fact, check out the new release from RZA. And they've been playing that record over and over again, which is pretty awesome. I think what's incredible right now is Steve Pomone, who was the COO of Parkwood Entertainment, now has become president of Versus. Keep in mind, about 2 years ago, Versus was just a thought. And now Versus is hiring people and they're getting that money. They're a publicly traded company. I mean, it's just a huge win for hip hop and everything that's going on. Another bit of news on the sports end as well is Kevin Durant has signed a name and likeness deal with St. John's University with his organization Boardroom, where they're really going to be advocating for the students, the student athletes at St. John's to have their name and likeness and do some deals with them, which is huge, with his partner, Rich Kleiman. And, you know, Kevin Durant is a part of Roc Nation, so that's exciting stuff. Obviously, the elephant in the room is this whole slap situation this past weekend at the Oscars. The only thing I want to talk about is, yes, it was an unfortunate incident. In our community, there's a lot of mental stress that we deal with, that sometimes in the most inopportune times, we are not in control of our emotions and, you know, things just get out of hand. What I like about what's happening now is that it has evolved into a situation where both parties recognize their part in the incident. They both apologized. And now, you know, it's time for us to focus on healing, sending them healing energy, and letting us all learn from this situation, because it can happen to the best of us. And as Denzel Washington had mentioned to Will Smith, you know, at our greatest times, the devil tries to come in to provide a low situation. So, you know, that's something that, you know, like I said, it can happen to the best of us. And I'm not going to put any more light into it than it really is necessary. Just know that at least we are moving in the right direction towards healing, because we are one. On that note, I'm going to share with you who we have today. This is a special day, special moment. So today we have the Senior Vice President of Marketing. She's constantly and consistently authoring and activating impactful campaigns for award-winning multi-platinum superstars. She's the advocate first. She's worked with everyone from Stevie Wonder, Prince, Beyonce, J-Lo. And her sustained success stems from an innate ability to not only identify the creative's respective vision, but magnify it for the global marketplace at large. She operates from a really honest place. And she first started off her career in management with Flavor Unit Entertainment, which is the home to Queen Latifah and Shaquem Compere, where they've managed Queen Latifah's career, Naughty by Nature, Mark 45 King, producers. In other words, let me put it this way. Rush Management was up there when it comes down to hip hop and managing, and Flavor Unit was right there neck and neck. She's handled the careers of DJ Clark Kent with her own 3D Entertainment, Jay-Z's debut of Reasonable Doubt. She's worked with Shaquille O'Neal on his successful music career. Also introducing the advent of the sneaker and album bundles as a marketing strategist. She's also trailblazed many collaborations, worked at Transcontinental Entertainment, was the vice president of marketing at Universal Motown Records, where she created the tribute to Marvin Gaye, where Marvin is 60, and she created the first ever Stevie Wonder box set, as well as the neo-soul icons of Erykah Badu and India.Arie. 2007, she joined Music World Entertainment, handling marketing for Beyonce's groundbreaking I Am Sasha Fierce album and her global tour. Worked with the Universal Music Group in 2010, worked at the Republic Label Group. She shepherded the releases ranging from The Voice, the winners of The Voice, Nas, Damian Marley, Motown, Kelly Rowland to Kim. You name it. She's worked on with Warner Brothers from 2015 to 2018 on the campaigns of Duran, Prince. I mean, she's doing it. And now, presently, she is working in conjunction with the man, L.A. Reid, with Hiko Entertainment in 2018 when it launched, where she's worked with Yella Beezy, St. John, Ruby Rose, and some new up-and-coming, exciting artists. Of course, she's worked with Big Boy, The Dream, and Jennifer Lopez, and D-Nice. So her quote is, "Music matters, and it's an honor to be a part of the process of bringing an artist's vision to reality." Let's welcome to the show, Miss Lynn Scott.
Hi, how are you?
We are doing awesome. How are you?
I'm great. I'm happy to be here. I always, when people read my bio or tell, I'm always just like, who is she? I want to meet her.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so happy, in light of Women's History Month, I'm so happy that you are here present with us because, there's several women in the industry, just being in the industry, that behind the scenes have really orchestrated a lot of people's careers. And it was interesting to me, even presently now, when I look at some of these artists, they don't have the same type of mentorship and that whole motherly love, that tough motherly love sometimes that they need. And if there's one thing that we know in the industry with you, Miss Lynn Scott, you give it to them. Good, bad, and indifferent. You give it to them, but you know what? You bring in great work. I mean, you look at Queen Latifah, and now she's on The Equalizer. Mm-hmm. You look at the touch points of Living Single, and you look at Shaquille, you look at just a wide variety, even the executives. You look at folks that were handling Outkast, Big Blue. A lot of people don't know him, but you were instrumental in really developing even executives as well. So, in light of Women's History Month, we want to present you your flowers. We want you to share, what it takes to be in the industry, and basically, well, first of all, how are you, and how have you been during this whole pandemic?
I'm really great. It's interesting. My daughter and I texted recently because, when you have Google on your phone and Google will serve up photos, they'll be like, oh, 2 years ago and 3 years ago, 4 years ago. So it served up a bunch of videos from when we were all locked down in 2020. And I actually felt guilty because if like the world was falling apart, but in my home, we were thriving, like just, the grace of God was all over us. No one was out of work. Nothing shifted. Yes, the world was falling apart. We had to adapt to some things, but inside my home, it was filled with life. And we had these wonderful moments and just, we worked out together. We ate together. Like nothing was like passing through the night. So I actually have a little bit of guilt because, when you turn on the news and everything just seems negative and sad, and that wasn't our experience. So that's how I'm doing. And I think also I just operate from a glass half full anyway. Like that's right. Just of my nature. No matter what it is, I still always try to find either the positive in it or the lesson in it, which is still a positive, right? Mm-hmm. So that's kind of how I'm doing. I do want to say, as you were talking about just who I am and just I like to say that I'm hard, but I'm fair. I will say that Kelly Rowland said it best. Kelly and I worked together. I worked on her Talk a Good Game album. And we used to tangle, right? Like one of the things that I do with artists, and I'm like, what is it that you want, right? I need to understand the end goal. And then we work together to, not just me. I don't work by myself. It's always a team. But particularly with the artists, we work together. What is the end goal to find the strategy for that? And based off of that, there were some things that I questioned that she wanted to do. And I'll never forget her manager at the time said to me, he was like, well, I'm not dealing with that. You battle her on it. And I did. I said, all she can say is no. And we went at it. And I remember she hung up the phone. I was so upset. Then she called me back and she said, man, if you fighting like that with me, I can only imagine what you're doing for me. So yeah, she says, I'm going to go with what you're suggesting. She says, because I believe you. And it changed everything for me. Like it really changed because I was just like, oh my God, she gets it. She understands. I'm not fighting with her. Fighting is the wrong word. I'm not challenging her just because I'm challenging her. I was challenging her because for me, I've always have my sight set on what you said you want the end goal to be.
Right.
And it was work. I worked with Ciara briefly, and I had the same approach to Ciara that I did with Kelly. Ciara said to me, she was like, I like you. She was like, girl, you're something else. She says, but can you operate with some grace? She says, you don't have enough grace. And I received that. I really received that. So my elbows aren't quite as sharp as they used to be, but they're still powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. We're gonna go on break, but and I'm gonna piggyback off of that because I'm gonna explain the reason why, because I know why. So once again, this is Power Moves, where celebrities, athletes, key influential executives share how they make money, how they attract power, and how they earn respect. Only here on In Touch News Radio, reality radio where everyone is a star. We're gonna see you after the break. We got to pay some bills in 2 minutes. All right, we back. So this is Power Moves. We're here with Senior Vice President over at Hippo Entertainment, Miss Lynn Scott. And we were just talking about how sometimes, you gotta be committed to the vision of the artist, and sometimes they just don't understand. Lynn is a mastermind when it comes down to marketing and strategy, as well as development of artists, so that they can achieve the goals, which is, have multi-platinum and great visibility and longevity in this industry we call music. So where we left off was where you said your elbows are not as sharp anymore. And the reason why they were sharp before was because you dealing with hip hop. We the most stubbornest.
That's actually true. That's
right?
True. Mostly
we're very stubborn, and we think we know it all. And you got to be real street with it. You got to go, like we around the block. Yeah. So when you hit R&B folks, these R&B folks are like, wait a minute, what's this is not the same thing.
You know what's funny though? I did gospel for a spell when I worked at Music World with Matthew Knowles. So I worked on gospel, and I actually had to be just as sharp working with gospel folks as I did with the rappers. I prefer the rappers.
Yes, absolutely. So now we're just going to jump into the money segment of our program. And what I'd like for you to share with us is you've seen the progression, especially in the beginning with Flavor Unit, hip hop wise, where the budgets were so tiny, but yet the profit margins were so large, right? Because when you sold platinum, whether it was independent labels like Jive Records and Tommy Boy Records, I mean, Tom Silverman made a lot of money. And then all of a sudden we go into, I would say about 2008-ish, when the digital age kind of really took over, and then people weren't seeing as much money in the music industry. Everybody was telling me at that time, I was like, man, this is horrible. I'm out, I'm pivoting. And yet you still remained in the industry another, 10 years later, you're still here. How did you do it? How were you able to manage that? Because there was some good ups, and then there was some deep valleys, and now we're kind of coming back up again. So could you share with folks what's been your strategy?
The grace of God. I mean, that's first. I think I give honor. I am where I'm supposed to be exactly at the time I'm supposed to be there. But I also, I also attribute it to always walking in truth. I have been in the industry. I think that I've helped mold it, but I know from where I never needed security. I never went home thinking, oh my gosh, I didn't do the right thing. So I've always done the right thing. I've always understood the artist. I consider myself an artist advocate. And at the end of the day, in the music business, the artist is the commodity. That is the value. It is the artist. It's what they create. And because I innately understood that, and I really innately understood that really from Shakim and Latifah, right? We're coming from management, because he went out and did deals at a time when there was no one to go, oh, you shouldn't do that. Stay small. Oh, and there were no boxes. Like Shakim was just like, we're going to get everything plus another 20%. Because if they're thinking of giving us this, we're not getting that. And so because he operated from that space, that's how I learned. When Latifah was like, I'm going to act and I'm going to do this, there was no one that was just like, oh, I don't know if you should do that. You may not, she didn't fit a mold either. Naughty by Nature didn't fit a mold. Black Sheep didn't fit a mold. Like, D-Nice didn't fit a mold. Like, they were all different. So when you come from that, and everything that he did and he fought for was for the artist. It's in my blood. That's my DNA. So I believe that that's one of the reasons why I've had some lasting power, because I understand that the artists is where the power lies. Understanding them, fighting for them, fighting with them, and helping to make their dreams come true. I'm just a conduit to their dreams. It's not about me. It's really about them. So that's what I believe it is God and art.
I'm happy you mentioned that, because I think what's interesting is, you did, when you spin off from Flavor Unit and then you had your own management company, and then you transitioned into marketing. A lot of folks normally in the industry, either they try to run their own label, when they spin off from a management company, or they are like a VP of like the artists in general, but you ended up going marketing route. How did that like? Because most people don't really do the marketing because the marketing is there's a science behind that. Like there's people either get it and do it well, or they try to do it and then they fail and then they do something else, right? So how did you kind of find your lane and then make sure that you always got that bag?
I think jumping from management into marketing, I mean, managers should be marketers, right? You're marketing, you want to market your artists to either sign with an agency or have another brand, or being able to make them attractive to a label if you're shopping for it. So I think that those skills are very transferable. And what I found in marketing is, as I'm bombarded with things that are being marketed towards me, I loved it. I love the idea of sitting with an artist. Actually, let me go back. You know what I really loved? And I think that this is probably where it happened. When Naughty by Nature did OPP, and at the time we had to put the lyrics together. And I'm on a typewriter, not a computer, on a typewriter. And Tretch is right here rapping OPP to me. And then we start talking about, like, what does it mean? Or what do we think people are going to say? And knowing that moment, that small moment, turned into this global thing. No one knew anything about OPP except for me typing these. So anywhere you see OPP, it started from that moment. And the idea that a hit record coupled with a really great campaign, coupled with artists who understood the assignment, could turn into global success, that through line is something that I think always sat with me, right? So how do you build a campaign based off of the lyrics and the music and then the artist? Like, that always mattered. And the constant in that is the marketing. You can add, there's publicity, and there's performances, and there's radio, and there's video, or everything that it touched. Marketing still was the through line through it all. And I'm bossy, and so I like the idea. I like the idea of, kind of being able to sit at the table while all of these different conversations were happening. I had an opinion. It's kind of what it is. I don't know.
Yeah, no. I mean, I think that's what's amazing, and I think what's interesting is the youth now. These younger artists are realizing the importance of marketing, but they're not leveraging it properly.
That's right.
Right. So
but I think some are. Like, I think you have artists who are doing some incredible stuff, who are selling out shows and selling merch in ways, it may not be loud, but they're doing something that is really interesting. And, and again, going back to Naughty by Nature, I mean, Vinny with the sheets and everything that they did, and they still sell all of that stuff. Like, it still does tremendously well. They built this incredible brand. Like, they understood merchandising long before merchandising understood merchandising. Right. Like, even when we used to make our jackets and all of our different things, I mean, we partnered with Adidas in a way that even Run DMC hadn't done. It was kind of amazing.
It was, I mean, you like I said, Rush Management was here, but you guys was like right there. Like, people were deciding, who should I go with management? Should I go with Rush Management, or should I go with Flavor Unit? And then eventually, when Rush Management split off, it was different. But Flavor Unit was always up there. Even when you talk to other record labels, they were like, refer artists that were unsigned to management. And you know what? Why don't you try these guys over at Flavor Unit? And that's because kudos to you and the core team, Charm, Shakim and Latifah.
We also had Rebecca, right? So when you would see shows, Rebecca, because she was our engineer, so they actually learned how to perform from a technical standpoint, not just the artistic one, but technically, so that the audio would be perfect so that people can enjoy it. So, she used to always be like, feedback in, feedback out. So, she's like, you have all of this part of the mic, stop holding it here. I mean, just, there are so many things that just happen at Flavor Unit. Artist development was definitely one of them. Brand identity was super important as well. And understanding the artist value and what they brought to the table. Shakim and Latifah really drilled that in us. That's why I said it's in my DNA. It really is.
Absolutely. Well, now we got to pay more bills.
Okay.
So we'll be back in about 2 minutes.
Okay.
Once again, this is Power Moves on In Touch News Reality Radio, where everyone is a star. We're going to see you right after the break. All right, we back. We are back. This is Power Moves, where celebrities, athletes, key influential executives share how they make money, how they attract power, and how they earn respect. We were talking about the money segment. The best thing to do is to know who you are, bring value, and fight for what you believe in, because that's what's going to be authentic, and that's where people are going to see it. Speaking of value, just to let you know, on August the 6th, I will be one of the featured speakers at the Empowerment Summit of Tampa Bay. Get your tickets now, $85 and a t-shirt. I'll sign the t-shirt for you. The website is https empowermentsummit.us/. So please join us August 6th. Now we are back. We're talking about the power segment right here. It'll be a combination of money and power.
Okay.
And so Lynn, when I think about the influence that you've had in so many careers of multi-platinum artists and your influence, what is it about you that has them wanting to listen to you?
I'm helping them get to their goal. You know what I mean? Like, when you think about if you want to start a company, mm-hmm. and you want to think about either your executive team or your board of directors, you want most people who come with a certain level of expertise, who won't operate out of fear, who will challenge everyone for whatever is the great, right? If that's what you truly want, then why wouldn't you want me on your team? Because that's my ethos. I'm going to challenge you. I want you to challenge me, and then I'm going to execute the mess out of it. So that's right. I know if I'm looking to build a company, I want the best of the best of the best. I want experience. I want someone who's going to represent me well. I want someone that's going to remain laser focused on what my goals are. I want someone who is going to be a collaborator and who's going to build with people and who are going to identify the right people to help execute. So yeah, if that's what you're looking for, I fit that bill. I fit that bill. I have worked with artists who I didn't fit the bill. They all probably have a shift job.
I love it, Lynn, because you always keep it 100.
I mean, I listen, I have worked with some artists. I used to make jokes. I'd be like, yeah, she'll be working the second shift. This is not this is not for the weak or the weary. I mean, this is, art is I don't want to say it's hard, because I think that, if you love it, it's not necessarily hard. But if everyone could do what I do or what you do, everybody would do it. And not everyone can do it. And I believe, artists are special people. I think that they operate from the left side of their brain. And you have to understand that and not and know how to kind of get in there. And again, you're just helping them get to where they say they want to go. You know what I mean? So
yes. I'm loving what you're saying. I'm gonna, my question I was gonna ask, I'm gonna ask that later. But I like the way you talk about the left side of the brain, because have you found yourself, and I mentioned it in a couple of episodes a while ago, that people don't understand, folks in the label executives as well as the management are like psychologists
yeah.
to these artists, and we're like, we are the original. Everybody's like, oh man, I'm a life coach. Man, they don't know what life coaching is until you work with these artists. So can you share how you're able to, your strategy and how you're able to combine that left and right brain and get them to the direction where they say they want to go? Like, can you share with us how you were able to, because sometimes it's like, I need for you to be at this radio spot and don't be late, and consistently they're late, and then eventually you finally get them to do what they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do different?
It requires nuance. Honestly, it requires nuance. You have to, there's a lot of talk about algorithm. People talk about algorithms all the time. You have to learn your artist's algorithm. So if you know that they're notoriously late, that they're nervous, that whatever their things are, right? Whatever their triggers are, you have to find ways to insulate them from that so that they don't happen. So then that way they can go and get everything that's done. So there are a lot of times I can sit in meetings and, other members of the team will go, oh, I'm gonna use Ruby Rose for an example. That's one of my artists. I absolutely adore her. We can sit in meetings and people will say, hey, Ruby, you're gonna do this. And she's like, yep, I'm gonna do it. And I'm like, Ruby, are you saying you're going to do it because you're acknowledging them and you want them to know that you're acknowledging them? Or you're saying, yes, you're going to do it because you're really going to do it? Because the yeses are different, right? There's right. A yes that's polite, right? And then there's a yes that actually means yes. I know the difference. And so sometimes I'll interject in there and just kind of do it. Or if any artist that I'm working with has someone that's on their team that they have to have an uncomfortable conversation, I'm always like, make me the bad guy, right? Because we have to protect them. Right. Or I'm like, let me have the difficult conversation. So, again, everything I do is still very much rooted in truth. That none of that changes. Because I can't do that. Like I don't know how to operate any differently. But I believe you just have to be nuanced and you have to understand the algorithm of the artist. And once you do that, it's really easy to block and tackle for them. Right. It really is easy to block and tackle. Like, I have artists who'll be like, yeah. I'm going to be there. I'm going to go to the studio at 10 o'clock. I'm like, you're not. So let's do it. You know what I mean? Like, so let's not create a situation where everyone's in the studio and then you're a no-show and then it's just like you're a flake. And so I'll come in and I'll be like, nope, we're going to do this at 6 and we'll do this. And this is how we'll build things around, You have to learn what gets them going, what gets them to tick. Sometimes you have artists who need to, have to be always in a smoking car or a smoking room, right? Don't put them in a room that they can't not do it. So build that into the budget, right? Because now you get charged for that. So might as well build it into the budget because it's going to happen anyway. There's no reason to like, no, you can't smoke because they're going to do it anyway. You know what I mean? So
yes,
I think that, now that I work for LA Reid and I really get it because he's what he says is moving artists is a gift. Not everyone knows how to do it. I work with people where I'm like, wait, they're by themselves? How are they by themselves? When I'm in New York, if my artist is new, like if they're a baby act, I don't get them cars. We get on the train. We get on the subway. And it's for two reasons. One, it's faster to get around, right? So we can get to stuff. But the other one is I want them to absorb the city. Yes. I want you to, let's say it's an artist that I'm having struggle who's trying to identify what their brand is. Yeah, I want you to get on the subway, see how everyone is dressing. You might pull from that. See what the ads look like on the sides. You can pick up creative energy from anywhere. And New York is a really great city to do that. So I'm like, we're getting on the subway. What do you mean? Yes.
Yes. That's right. With that being said, as a mom and you being a single mom, you talked about that during COVID, during the pandemic. What was that like? 3 kids and being in the music industry, juggling that, because that takes a lot of talent and power. Did your kids give you practice, or did the artist give you practice with your kids?
The artist gave me practice with my kids. But I look at it this, my children, I was already doing this when my children were born. I love music. I thought I love music. They love music that much more. It's always blasting in the house. So for me, it was great. I use them as case studies all the time. I'll play music. I have my older daughter is just like, she loves everything. She's like, Mom, I love it. I love it. My younger daughter is way more discerning. She's like, that's trash. Y'all should let that artist go. Okay, this is okay. Like she's like, I need to talk to LA. I need him to understand that these are not in. Like she's so funny. and then my son is just like, dude, why isn't your music on my video games? You know what I mean? Like he's like, Mom, what's going on? You're not on video games. And he's really good. He'll be like, hey, did you see this YouTube thing? And I'm like, no, what YouTube thing? So he's really good about helping me discover what some of the kids are doing, which I love. Like I said, my younger daughter she's more of a traditionalist. She prefers the original music that's being sampled now.
Yes.
I mean, plus she loves Travis Scott and she loves Kanye, so she'll listen to anything and A$AP Rocky, all the A$APs. And my older daughter she kind of loves everything, but she's in film now, so we'll talk about a bunch of different things. So I love them. I just think that they're probably my proudest achievement. We did a good job.
Awesome. So during the pandemic, you've had a long relationship with D-Nice, and now this brother killing it.
Great, it's so good.
He is killing it. He was on tour. Is he going to be going back on tour again? Like, can you share?
He's got his festival that he's doing in Vegas.
In Las Vegas. So make sure you buy your tickets, y'all. Yeah. Las Vegas is Labor Day weekend, but share how you were behind the scenes even on that, and a lot of people don't know. So can you share a little bit about that relationship and then him being signed to Hitco and all that stuff?
So first of all, working with D is amazing because he knows what he wants, right? I can get a fast yes or a fast no. He's just a consummate professional. It's amazing to work with him. I love that his heart beats to the beat of music. It truly does. Like everything for him is on music all the time. I don't know what to say. Like every great thing that you can figure out to say, and working with him has really been amazing. I do wish that we had some more music, but he's so daggone busy that it just becomes a little bit difficult to try to get the music, and the A&R team is working with him. But like the fact that he's done the Oscars, and I mean, I couldn't be prouder. And to know that he had like a lull, and to our friend Bevy Smith, but it gets greater later. He
Yes,
is
it
the
gets greater later.
manifestation of it gets greater later. And he didn't change one thing. He stayed focused on the music and good vibes. And so working with him, it thrills me to work with him. It's a little frustrating because there's so much incoming, right? So it can be hard to try to get things to settle, if you will. But
Right.
it's amazing to work with him. Like I don't. It's so funny. I used to be like, all right, this is your 30-minute warning. Okay, 10-minute warning. He's like, Lynn, I'm grown. You know. He's like, you don't have to do that. I'm like, I don't know how to unlearn that. I don't know how to unlearn that. Because I do that to him. I'm like, 30-minute warning. This is
Hmm.
tomorrow. 10-minute warning. Okay, Donna, you have everything. And he would it would just make him crazy because he's like, really? Please stop it.
That's right. But that's your role. That's your
Yeah,
job, and you're like the super mom. So
yeah.
um, so we got to pay some more bills again.
Okay.
I mean, it's just going by so fast. But once again, this is Power Moves, where celebrities, athletes, key influential executives share how they make money, how they attract power, and how they earn respect. We'll see you after the break. All right, all right. This is Power Move on In Touch News Radio, reality radio, where everyone is a star. That was that record right there was Mr. Bonnet, Loyalty from my boy, Mr. Reggie Huggins over at Bedrock Records in Mount Vernon. And we have on the show here Lynn Scott, the mastermind of Hitco Entertainment.
No, that's LA.
We know it's LA, but you have influence. Come on, stop being shy. And we're gonna go into our respect segment because like I said, this is Women's History Month, and in this music industry, it has been very for women in the industry is very challenging. Um, and we've had situations with the Me Too movement. We've had uh, you know unspoken stuff, things of that nature. You've been in the game for a long time, so you've seen and experienced a lot. Can you share with us at a story in which you were in an uncomfortable situation where someone disrespected you and you were like, you know what? We're going to handle this a little bit differently.
I have a few stories. The one that I think is safest to share is
Yes.
is is a microaggression that I believe a lot of women deal with. And that's when you're sitting in a meeting, in the conference room at the at the boardroom table, and you say something. It could be, it's an idea, it's a strategy, it's a plan, right? Let's say, and you say it, and no one really says anything, and then a man in the room will say the exact same thing, and the response is, "That's amazing, that's brilliant, that's wow, great job, that's a really good job," and you go, I just said that. No one heard that. No one heard me say it. And that can be really deflating, right? It can make you, I know for me, it has made me have imposter syndrome. It has made me, it's happened a lot. So there were times I've responded poorly. There were other times when I spoke up for myself and then was labeled as angry. There were times when it caused me to just go silent. For me, that's probably the worst thing you want, right? My silence is really deafening. And so that to me is one of the things that I strongly dislike. I work for LA Reid now. We sit in meetings, and when that happens, he will actually stop and go, "Did y'all just hear what she said?" He was like, "You just said the same thing she said. So, Lynn, say it again since they didn't hear you." And that's never happened for me before with someone of his stature. It's never, and I have found it to be very, very freeing. And what it has caused is that doesn't happen. He won't tolerate it. And I wish some of the C-suite executives that I've worked with in the past would do that. And this is not about Black women versus white women. It's just about women in general, where people, and I think more men have to go do the same thing. Stop, wait, did you hear what she said? Like, listen, and that's probably been a recurring theme until working for LA at HitCo. And I think it's wholly disrespectful. And I think any of your listeners, I think people have to do that and be like, wait a second, he just said that or she just said that, and really make sure that people are listening. That's why we're all gathered around a big table to have a conversation about whatever it is we're talking about. So, there are some others, but that's for another time when I could curse.
So, wow. I love that you shared that story, because that's definitely a reoccurring theme, right? So if you were to give your daughter's advice, you give a younger person that's coming into not only just the music industry, because that theme right there all happens in all across the board, right? What advice would you give them so that you can prevent that from happening, or prevent that from happening less times? Because you can't necessarily prevent it from happening, but figuring out a way in which your voice is heard and you are respected.
I believe that any room you walk in, be prepared, right? You should absolutely be prepared, and do not shrink. Do not shrink because someone else is uncomfortable with your confidence. Whoever is uncomfortable with your confidence, that's their problem. But if you come in and you know what you're talking about, you can back everything up. Just present it and be confident in presenting it. And don't think, oh, I'm making Mr. So-and-so feel badly. That's Mr. So-and-so's problem. And I believe that you have to do that, because if you don't, what you do you chip away a little bit at yourself until you start having imposter syndrome. So I am constant when it comes to particularly my daughter that's working in film. I'm like, okay, let's I always help her play out her scenarios. I'm like, you know what the responses are going to be, so let's play them out. And what does that look like? And we'll do a little role play. And I push her. She's like, Mom, it's just not like that. You ask for my help. You ask for my help, so let's play it all out. So whatever response you get, you know in how to be able to follow it up. And it's really helpful. And I tell her, because she's young and she's a boss. Like they promoted her. So she's like she works for Michael Jai White and she's like number 3 on his team at the studio. But a lot of people that she works with are older than her. So what happens is they're like, oh, she has an attitude. Oh, she thinks she's entitled. And I said, do you come across that way, or do you just speak in a way that is a directive and they just don't respond well? And she was like, yeah, they just don't respond well because they're like, you're a kid. And I just tell her, I said, that's actually not your problem. Mm-hmm. You can't really do anything about it. I said, but as long as you're respectful, I teach her what Ciara told me, operate with some grace. I said, but that doesn't mean you should still be no nonsense. It's okay. And if they have a problem with that, it's really their problem. But if you're respectful and you're direct and you're not wavering, and no one can walk away and be like, well, I don't really know what she meant. What do you mean? Like you have to be really good about that. And I told her to read some books. I said, read leadership books, learn some leadership skills, like you want to be a leader, right? You're not trying to necessarily be a boss. You want to be able to lead and really represent your boss well, right? Which is Michael Jai White. So this is, I think that's important. And I just think people have an issue with women who are assertive and well-spoken and direct and confident. Like these are all of the things we raise our daughters to be. Right. But then you put them in a business setting where they may be outnumbered, and then all of a sudden, all of those wonderful things now are weaknesses, right? Because someone's on the other side of it. And I'm like, always be prepared, because that's the thing. If you're not prepared, if they find any little hole, I don't know who they is, but whoever they are finds that little hole, they'll make it like this big gaping hole. She's not even prepared. She doesn't even know her job, kind of thing, So that's my best advice. Go in and be okay with being who you are. It's really okay. I think it's more okay now than ever, because the kids are like, if I don't love it, I'm not doing it. The kids are changing. They are shifting what that looks like, right? Oh, you don't want to pay me? You don't want my ideas? You don't want this? I am not going to conform. I'm not doing this job. They'll sit at home. They'll do their own thing. They're not doing that. So I think for those of us who have been around the block can really, really use that as a teachable moment, right? That's coloring outside the line. Coloring outside the lines, outside the box, which I live for. I love that my experience is coupled with my curiosity that is fueled by what the kids are doing. I love it. I feel masterful at it. I just do. I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. I love that. And I'll take that and couple that with my experience. And then we have these magical ideas, these magical moments, these plans that come together that are just, with all of this emerging technology, it's amazing to me. It's amazing. There's so much money to be made right now. Look, you talk about finance, when you start talking about blockchain and NFTs and the metaverse and Web3, it's endless. It's so exciting. It is.
So with your female artists on the Hitco label, such as Ruby Rose, Ayana Lee and
Jennifer
Lopez. How are you mentoring them in that same respect?
Well, Jennifer Lopez, I'm not mentoring.
We know that. Yeah. She got her own thing, right?
It's honestly the same way I mentor my daughters. As a creator, I'm like, if you love it, meaning, so if you have a song and you love your song, you fight for your song. Mm-hmm. Love it. If you don't love it, then you need to vocalize that as well. Understand that there are things that you are going to have to do to lay a foundation as an artist. But if you do it well, and you hit the jackpot with a hit record, you'll never have to do many of those same things again. I tell all my artists that, like, when you think about them early mornings, because you still have to do a lot of that.
Yeah.
You know, the blogging, everything that you have to do. But if you give me 2 years and you have the right music, you'll never have to do those same things again. You just won't, because it will help you build a fan base and a foundation. So it's a lot of that. It's about being prepared and understanding what people want. So, you know, if you go into a conversation that's really about clickbait, understand that that's about clickbait. You go into a different interview and it's about something deeper, be prepared for what that looks like too. Understanding that, you know, it should always lead back to the music. Whatever you're doing, it should always lead back to the music. And to remember that a lot of the things that you have to do as an artist now, I mean, and this is across the board, unless you're Beyonce, you don't have to do them, but a lot of the things that you have to do, you have to expose your soul to the world, because not because I said it, or a record label said it, or a manager said it. It's because the consumer has said that. The consumer is really driving how consumption happens. They're driving it. We're not driving that. You know, if it was up to me, I wish, I do miss some of the things that we used to do back in the day, because a lot of that responsibility was on us and less of it was on the artist. That has shifted. So much more of it is on the artist and less of it is on us. So, you know, I feel bad. I mean, no matter, every single thing that our artists have to go and do, they got to post about it. They got to tag a bunch of people about it. It's like, you know, I'll get calls and be like, she didn't repost me. And I'm like, oh my God, is this my life? Is this what I'm talking about? Talking about because you weren't reposted? Oh, you didn't tag it right. Like, it's just, yeah, it's the game.
It's the game.
It's the game.
Well, our time is up, Lynn.
This is so good.
But we are going to definitely, if you want to bring some of your artists coming through here, that would be nice. But this was fun. We enjoyed your time. We appreciate you and all the work that you've done. And once again, thank you. This is Power Move, where celebrities, athletes, key influential executives share how they make money, how they attract power, and how they earn respect. We'll see you next week, baby. Thank you.
Thank you.